Hello world, Shelly here, and it's time for another episode of Foundation Fest. I don't know what's going on right now. Today I'm going to check out from ColourPop the Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Hydrating Foundation. Retails for $16. You can get 42 different shades on ColourPop's website, but on Ulta's website I only see 29 shades available. It really makes me wonder, like, is that the brand saying that they want a reason for people to go directly to them to buy the foundation to get these other shades? Or is that Ulta saying we don't have shelf space to stock all the shades, so we're only going to stock some of it? It really makes me curious because I feel like a lot of brands lately are trying to go above and beyond to have an inclusive shade range, only to have stores not carry the whole line, which is annoying. But I've got the details right here. $16 gets you a fluid ounce of product. It's currently getting 4.6 out of 5 stars with 99 reviews on Ulta's website. It is described as a hydrating foundation that delivers medium buildable coverage with a natural skin finish, infused with coconut water and hyaluronic acid for hydrated, luminous skin. The flexible formula provides undetectable medium to full coverage that lasts all day. It is vegan, it is dermatologist tested, oil-free, alcohol-free, and fragrance-free. Note that there are quite a few natural fruit extracts in the ingredient list, and if you're sensitive to those, that might be an issue. Or, you know, they can kind of sneak some fragrance in through the natural extracts, which is a little loophole, but I will take their word for it. That is about all they have to say about this. I have shade Light 55 Neutral. I was going for my summer shade. I might have gone a little too dark, but, you know, summer, let's try it. Let's take a look at this one swatched against a few others in my collection. Swatch time. First up is Ziva. Swatch time. First up is today's foundation, the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Hydrating Foundation in shade Light 55 Neutral. Second, I've got also from ColourPop the No Filter Foundation in shade Light 55. Third is the CoverGirl True Blend Matte Made in shade L40. Fourth is from Wet n Wild, the Photo Focus Dewy in shade Shell Ivory. And last, I've got the CYO Life Proof in shade 101. I've already cleansed, moisturized, and sunscreened this 45-year-old face. I have primed with the Good Molecules silicone-free priming moisturizer. So I have, this time of year, luckily, pretty normal skin. It's about the only time of year that I can get away with saying that. I am normal to dry. I do get flaking skin and peeling skin even when I am normal because I experiment with a lot of skincare on my face. So that is what I'm trying to combat. I do have larger pores on my cheeks, some texture issues. Where's my palette? I will go in on one side of my face with a sponge. This is a brand new, fresh out of the box Ulta Beauty sponge. I like their sponges. They have a good pounce to them. They grow pretty big and they have a nice soft pounce. And the other side we will use an e.l.f. Ultimate Blending Brush. This one is starting to fall apart, but these are my beloved, my favorites. I have probably 24 of them at this point. We have a pump dispenser. Is this plastic or glass? Am I the only one that has trouble figuring that out? I think it's plastic, just based on the weight. But it looks like frosted glass. It's actually quite nice. Let's see here. This blends out beautifully with the sponge. I don't smell anything whatsoever, so I don't think any of the extracts are really providing any kind of scent. So that is good. This is really pretty with the sponge. I don't see a whole lot of coverage. It is balanced out redness just a little bit, but everything else is still coming through. I'd say this is still very light coverage, not medium to full as they describe. A lot of product soaked into the sponge, so that could be part of the issue here. Let's try the brush side. this just blends out really smoothly. I feel like even with the brush, it's just a really smooth blend out. I do think you get a little bit more coverage with the brush. I would still not call this medium coverage in one pass. I would say it's a solid light coverage with the brush, but even side to side, you can see there's a little more redness coming through on the sponge side and down by my chin. So it's, if you're looking for coverage, I would go with a brush. It's beautiful either way. It's the same level of smooth, I think, with the brush versus the sponge. They do claim this is buildable, so I am going to go with what little product I have left. I just want to see if I can get my sunspots covered up a little bit, and this lovely little blood vessel that runs through the side of my face. Cover up some of the redness on my chin, and even out my forehead just a little bit. I would say yes, this is a buildable foundation. It has built pretty seamlessly, very nicely. It gave a little bit more coverage in those areas. I would not call this full coverage. They say you can get it to full coverage. I feel like it's pretty close to being maxed out because I can almost see the product sitting on the skin where I built it up. Not quite, but I feel, you know, it's at that tipping point, I feel like. So I would not call this full coverage. I would say we're at a nice medium coverage. That is fine for me. That is pretty much what I look for on a day-to-day basis. So let's take a look up close and see how this one is looking. It's a little tiny bit heavy around any kind of motion line. So around my mouth, my Meredith Grey wrinkle is pretty pronounced. I can see my smile lines. I can see the little wrinkles around the corners of my mouth. I can see my straw lines on my upper lip. So it's not doing much in terms of blurring wrinkles or making them, you know, disguising them at all. It is doing a pretty nice job of smoothing out pores. I feel like on the brush side of my face, they are less obvious. On the sponge side, I can still see them. So if you are looking for a more blurring effect, I think the brush side did a better job with that. My nose looks surprisingly good. My nose is usually a just weird trouble spot that makeup likes to sit on top of the skin, but it looks good. It's not clinging to the texture between my eyebrows. It does not seem to be accentuating any of the lines on my forehead, so generally speaking, I think it looks okay. It's not doing me any favors for my wrinkles, but in terms of overall, I think it is sitting on the skin very nicely. It is not accentuating any of my dry spots. It is not clinging to any dry skin, so those are all very good things. So let's check the time. It is 1:37. I'm gonna go put the rest of my face on. I'll be right back. So far so good with the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hydrating Foundation. Couple little issues that I want to mention. So I was feeling that you might actually be able to get away with not setting this because it did set down pretty well. When it did set down, I started to see some of the edges of some dry skin along the sides of my nose and things like that, but overall it still looked fine. It was just a little bit tacky to the extent that I just wasn't super comfortable putting powder on top of it because I felt like, it also felt like it was moving around just a little bit. So I did end up setting it with the CoverGirl True Blend Minerals Loose Powder, which I love. It took to setting very well, but when I went to apply blush, bronzer, highlight, especially on my nose, I feel like the foundation was moving around. And that can really mess up your day. So even when it's set, for it to not really be in place, I did not end up putting any setting spray on a day-to-day basis. I do wear setting spray every day, but I like to see how the foundation can do on its own without that help. But this one might be one that needs something to help it lock into place. So we'll find out if it moves around or not now that everything is on and in place. On the rest of my face, I am trying out from Makeup Revolution the Splendor Ultra Matte Bronzer. I'm wondering if they're attempting to dupe out some Charlotte Tilbury because I'm getting some of those vibes from the giant size of this. It is, however, very powdery. It's a really, really powdery formula. I like the color though. I think it turned out alright. It's not too warm toned. I have this in the shade Light, which is pretty dark for a light shade actually. But first impression is okay. My blush is the e.l.f. Primer Infused Blush in Always Punchy. My highlight is also e.l.f. The Retro Paradise. This is the Multidimensional Face and Body Shimmer. I think it's the shade Soul. Yeah, the one that's sort of more pinkish. It is really, really, really pretty. My eyes are the neutral side of the Raw Beauty Christy Pure collab. I did do a makeup and chill on this, so you'll see that one of these upcoming Saturdays. Also wanted to mention I'm trying for the first time from Physicians Formula the Brow Last Long Wear Brow Gel. First impression, don't like it. Reason, the applicator is this sort of chunky flat brush, and you kind of paint the stuff onto your brows and then use the built-in spoolie to distribute it. For the life of me, I could not get it to distribute evenly. Just not a fan of how it was just goopy. Couldn't get it to distribute evenly, so I ended up going in over that with my Arches and Halos brow gel. So not a good first impression there. I'm also testing the Infallible Pro Glow Concealer from L'Oreal. There will be a video upcoming on that. And my lip is the e.l.f. Retro Paradise in Strawberry Daiquiri. So that's everything we got going on this mug. I'll be back in a bit with a daylight check-in, and I will come back tonight and give you guys my final thoughts. Hey guys, a rainy day here, but it's about 5.5 hours in, and I figured out here feeding the birds. And here is a look at the color match. I think for now, this time of year, pretty good. Maybe a smidge too dark, but I think it's okay. Close up, I just got to look at it in the 10x mirror, and the only thing I'm seeing is just a little bit of separation along my smile lines, but otherwise it really still looks quite nice. I think the finish is quite nice. There you have it. It's starting to rain a little harder. I will be back tonight to wrap this one up. 1:36 a.m. That puts us right around 12 hours. Let's take a look at how the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Hydrating Foundation held up. I do think it's hydrating. My skin feels comfortable. Nothing feels dry. Nothing feels dehydrated. That's a very good thing. It holds up to its claims there. It transfers a little bit. I've got a few spots that I've seen throughout the day where I might have touched my forehead and then I saw a fingerprint on my face. So it does transfer a little bit. Nothing that I noticed, like I don't notice it on my clothing or anything, but I did notice it where I had touched my face a little bit. Let's zoom in and take a look. It is starting to break apart around my smile lines and any movement lines around my mouth. So those wrinkles are being accentuated just a bit. It settled a little bit into my deepest chin line, but it did not settle into my fine line. So I would say generally speaking, it does not settle into lines. You might have trouble with deeper lines. Blush, bronzer, highlight is still very well intact. Even my nose looks pretty okay. I'm losing a little bit of coverage, but it looks pretty okay. The product really doesn't seem to be moving around or caking up or gunking up or anything like that. Overall, I think it still looks very nice for 12 hours into the day, especially for a more hydrating formula. They tend to break down faster on me than matte formulas, so I think the wear time for this is really nice. It's got a great shade range. I wish you could get all of the shades at stores like Ulta, but I'm glad that they have at least made an inclusive shade range. If I had to give a grade to the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Foundation, I am going to go A- on this one. I was on the fence between a B+ and an A-. I think this one has shown really good longevity. The Degradation is pretty graceful, I would say. At a distance, it still looks pretty doggone good. I'm going to give it the A-. It's getting the benefit of that little boost of performance there. I'm going to go there. I'm going there, A-. I think it's a nice performer. I think it works really well. I think it's comfortable for dry skin. I think you're not going to have too many problems if you have maturing skin. I like it. I like it. There you have it. Another episode of Foundation Fest is in the books. If you enjoy foundation reviews, if you liked this one, if you want me to do more of them, give me a thumbs up down below. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Check out geekoutofwater.com. Click the Foundation Fest link. I've got a ranked, sortable, searchable spreadsheet of all 200 plus of my foundation reviews that you can dig through and search through. And as always, thanks a lot for taking some time out of your day to geek out over makeup with me. I appreciate your time, and I hope you guys all have an awesome day or night wherever you are in the world. Take care of each other. Bye-bye.